There's really nothing that annoys me more than when I pick up a brand new PvE style game and I spend hours of my own time searching through videos trying to actually determine what the very best build is. A lot of videos out there will take a really mediocre build and make it seem really good in the video, when there's a lot of stronger options out there that you should be running over it, but it's pretty much impossible to know what the meta is and what the best builds in the game are when you're learning that game. Last season, I made a video going over the 3 best builds in all of Destiny 2, one for each class, and gave the builds a rating out of 10, which is exactly what we're doing today. The goal is to give anyone who is newer to the game or trying to get better at Destiny 2 a one-stop shop for the best builds in the entire game, so you know what is actually meta. Also, real quick, if you guys do enjoy the video and you haven't already, make sure to drop a quick like and sub down below. It takes 2 seconds, it helps me out a ton, and it's completely free. Hopping straight into the builds, starting off with Warlocks. In the previous version of this video, I showcased the Starfire Protocol build, which has been nerfed. So its replacement is pretty obvious, which is using Sunbracers. Back then, I gave Starfire a 9.5 rating out of 10, and I think Sunbracers are a solid 9 out of 10. They're not quite as versatile, but definitely better for ad clear and healing compared to Starfire. With just Sunbracers equipped and the mod Momentum Transfer, you have an infinite cycle of grenades and melee abilities. Your melee kill gives you 5 seconds of infinite solar grenades, which you just spam, and as long as those solar nades each deal damage, you get your melee straight back. These also do deal a really good amount of damage because of the lava spits that generate out of each solar grenade, so anything with a larger hitbox is going to take a lot of increased damage. You can also run this with different aspect setups as well, which is pretty huge. I made a really strong version of this build, which allows you to stay on Icarus Dash for anybody who loves having fluid movement or doing any movement text that might be a little faster for raids and dungeon clears, but you can always just run this with good old He Rises and Phoenix Dive, so you can proc Restoration ×2, which heals for an insane amount of health each and every second if you want a tankier playstyle. The best part about Sunbracers is the Incinerator stat melee can be used on the ground near an enemy, which makes all the projectiles hit that same enemy without ever spreading out, and it just prevents them from missing. And then with 4 or more of those hitting in total, that automatically ignites the enemy, guaranteeing a melee kill even while under power. On top of all this, your grenade kills can heal, they can extend restoration, and they can generate fire sprites, and all of this is done with just abilities. So your weapon slots are left completely open for whatever you want, and you can also easily run weapon surges with the build for increased damage. This is currently the best overall Warlock build in Destiny 2, and it gets even better when you learn how to optimize the playstyle, and you could even argue this is the best overall build in the entire game right now. Moving on to the Hunter build, last time I covered Gerfalcon's Hallberg, which is still the best overall build in my opinion, but for certain content, the Arc Assassin's Cowl build can be even better. So I'm also going to be giving this one a 9 out of 10. When paired with Arc Hunter, Assassin's Cowl is constantly able to give you healing and invis, since you're constantly getting melee kills. Kills against tougher enemies are also going to make the invis last longer and give more healing, so this does scale really well to keep you alive even when under leveled. Combination Blow on Hunter also scales your melee damage up by 60% every stack you get. So after 3 stacks, your melee damage is dealing 4 times the base damage, plus you can add in Tractor Cannon and a 1-2 punch shotgun, which will get this all the way up to 16 times the base melee damage. This works really well against champions. It did used to be a lot better, but it does still work pretty easily in Grandmaster Nightfalls. On top of that, every time you dodge with the Aspect Lethal Current, you're also getting Jolt to apply on your next melee hit. So not only is the base melee scaling up, but this Jolt effect will also be dealing a ton of increased damage to enemies as well, which also just so happens to send out Chain Lightning to all nearby enemies, meaning while you're just using this hard-hitting combo, Jolt is ad clearing for you. This is another ability-based build that can leave most of your weapon slots completely open, especially in easier content, and in raid and dungeon settings, which tend to be a lot easier, you can also swap out Assassin's Cowl for other exotics or always hot swap mid-encounter. Arc Hunter comes with Gathering Storm, which is one of the best damage supers in the entire game, so you can run exotics to buff its damage whenever the healing from Assassin's Cowl feels overkill. And then lastly, with the right mod setup, you can generate a ton of Orbs of Power and also build your own super extremely quickly, which makes it easily one of the best builds in the entire game and should be one of your go-tos whenever playing Hunter. Lastly, we are moving on to Titan, and this season especially, I feel like the mini hammer Titan build is extremely strong. I've seen a ton of people using it to solo flawless Ghost to the Deep. It's also just really strong for most areas of endgame content as well, and overall, I would say it's an 8.5 out of 10. With Roaring Flames, each ability kill you get gives additional damage for your abilities. At 3 stacks, this is a 73% increase in damage, which is extremely strong for the base throwing hammer, and then you can add in Soul Invictus on top of this, so ability final blows also create sunspots, where these sunspots are offering increased ability regen and even give restoration so that you heal over time. This build gets even better when combined with Synthoceps, which grant the perk Biotic Enhancements. While surrounded by 3 or more enemies, you get increased melee and super damage for 8 seconds. The super damage is only 50%, which is pretty good, but the extra melee damage is 200%. So as long as there are adds nearby, you're able to constantly keep this buff up for another 200% damage to the mini hammer. On top of this, grabbing the hammer after you throw it and hit an enemy also heals you through Cure, so as long as you're getting kills, you're constantly getting health back and healing over time through the sunspots. Plus, the sunspots are really good on their own for ad clear too. If you manage to kill something near a spawn door and then more ads come out, they're taking a good bit of damage over time, and they're also taking scorch damage through the solar subclass. Overall, this is one of the best and easiest to use solo builds in the entire game. I would say the only downside, in my personal opinion, is that the super isn't great for damage. It's definitely an ad clear super, and it isn't super good as a build for Grandmaster Nightfalls. It works, but you don't steamroll everything like similar Titan builds used to. Those are 3 of the current best builds in Destiny 2, and as always, dim links will be below if you guys want to grab the full builds with mods and all. Overall, between this and the video I made last season, when it comes to Warlock, Sunbracers are better because Starfire got nerfed. Arc Hunter is great in lower power activities and GMs, but I would tend to still rock your Falcons for general play in raid and dungeon settings. And then whenever on Titan, Strand is by far the play for GMs and whenever you're going up against champions. Otherwise, I think the mini hammer build tends to feel better and play much faster. Anyways, that's all for this video. As always, have a good one, guys. Peace.